Presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
Pearl Harbor will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm B.J. Williams. With me is James E. Alexander and William R. Burkett. They will be telling us about their new book, The Secret Court-Martial of Admiral Kimmel. Susie Beasley will talk with Ruby Soutier. Kids Corner will feature Shelley Ziegler-Hill. We also have Doug Benton and Byron Price. Coming up, Jim Alexander and Bill Burkett.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, B.J. Williams.
One of my guests is a very frequent guest here on Read About It, and that's Jim Alexander. Hi, Jim.
How are you this evening?
Doing fine. Jim has written, 24 books now, written or co-authored. You are also the publisher of Macedon Press, Dean Emeritus of the Minder School of Business at Oklahoma City University. Well, lots and lots of things, but you have an equally distinguished gentleman sitting right next to you, and that's William R. Burkett. Former district judge, U.S. attorney, state representative, and presiding judge of the Oklahoma Temporary Court of Appeals. And you also co-authored The Fall of David Hall, didn't you?
Yes.
And the two of you decided to get together and write something about Admiral Kimmel, who, for those who don't know their World War II history, was the naval commander at Pearl Harbor.
Correct.
On December 7th in 1941. Now, there were a lot of inquiries after that event, during the war and even after it, but I don't believe there actually was a court-martial, was there?
There was not a court-martial. He had requested one, but they never, in order to have a chance to clear his name, and he was due one, but they never would give it to him. So we went back into the transcripts and gave him the court-martial that he had always asked for. So we worked out of actual transcripts from the hearings, and there are 39, believe it or not, at the State Historical Library, the government section. There's a 39-volume set that contains all of the transcripts of all of the hearings. And it took a lot of digging, but we put together a trial.
Okay. Well, now, did you divide them up? Did you read some, and then Jim, did you read some? I mean, is that the way you approached it?
No, we both read them all, and would do a witness, and then the other one we'd talk about it and modify it. Time was a pressing problem, you know.
Yeah.
You got to condense it into 3 acts, and there was a ton of testimony.
I'll bet. Well, with 39 volumes.
Yeah.
Now, why did you decide to put it into a play as opposed to a novel?
Well, it's a trial, and there's a lot of similarities between a trial as a courtroom drama and a play, and it seemed to us to make more sense to do it this way than it would to write a narrative tale about a trial that never took place. Mm-hmm. So the play format lets you go through the trial. I suppose the closest analogy would be the Herman Wouk's The Caine Mutiny Court-Martial, which is produced on Broadway and also as a movie.
Now, obviously Admiral Kimmel, and I understand all of the witnesses were actual historical people. You lifted their testimony in your play is lifted directly from those 39 volumes that you. I'm impressed. Anybody who can read 39 books on the same subject.
Yeah, we didn't make anything up.
Okay. Well, what about I was just a little bit curious about and I may not have the nomenclature right, but the defense attorney. The prosecuting attorney, and it was not a jury trial. Court-martials are not jury trials, but you had presiding judges. Were those people that you made up when you decided to go with the play?
Yes, in terms of the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney, the answer is yes. Those are fictional characters. But again, most of the questions that they asked were questions that came in the course of the hearings.
Okay.
I'd say all of the questions that were asked. Yeah. We had to create closing arguments, for example. A short colloquy between his lawyer and Admiral Kimmel, who we have wanting to testify, and the lawyer counsels him against that. That's fiction.
Okay.
But we had to use the actual testimony. I mean, that's the whole idea, that this is the evidence that was available, and we think it leads to only one conclusion.
Well, I noticed you get into, there's a lot of back and forth in some places about exactly who knew what and when were they told and who bothered to tell Admiral Kimmel and who else was it kept a secret from and that sort of thing. So I would imagine that you had several volumes just on that aspect of it alone.
Yeah, and that's still being argued.
Sure.
So,
But probably the chief dynamic was that when a tragic thing like this happens, and we see it today, right, going on right now, is somebody wants to blame somebody. So you get into the name the blame game. And in this case, if they didn't cap the blame at Admiral Kimmel, where does it go next? It goes next to the president. And we're right in the middle of a war, and this is not the time to be undermining the confidence.
Confidence and morale.
Yeah,
Sure.
confidence and morale. Now, Kimmel understood that, but what he didn't understand is why, after the war was over, why they couldn't go ahead and give him his court-martial. He waived the statute of limitations so that it could happen, and so that he'd have a chance to clear his name. And I think that's the tragic part.
The bulk of the testimony that we used came from the congressional investigation, or at least a lot of it, chaired by Alben Barkley, who was then a senator and later became vice president. And they cleared Kimmel. But not, and then a couple of years ago, Congress asked President Bush to restore both Admiral Kimmel and General Short to their former rank, and he hasn't done it yet. I don't know why.
I'm assuming he has one or two other things on his mind right now.
Probably.
Probably so. Now, I understand that this has actually been produced. It has had its premiere production here in Oklahoma City, didn't it?
Yes, we did a production at the Oklahoma City University School of Law, and it was a reading thing that people didn't have to memorize their text; they were able to read it. But they rehearsed it well enough so they could read it well and realistically. And I think it worked very, very well. You just had the feeling that you were there in an actual trial. Or at least it seemed that way to me. The judge may have it.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And he was the defense attorney, by the way.
Well, then you had the fun part.
I did. I definitely did.
Because I noticed in the play, Kimmel does have a very good defending attorney.
Well, the lawyers in that congressional investigation were really good. The bad guy is an admiral named Turner, and they just did a masterful job. So it wasn't me, it was those. They really did a good job. They were outstanding lawyers.
Well, and I think you've produced a very interesting play. I would like to go into it more, but our time is up,
Right.
and I want to thank you both very much for
Thank
being
you for
with me.
having us.
Yeah, thank you.
We've had with us today James Alexander and William Burkett telling us about the secret court-martial of Admiral Kimmel. You can find that book at your library and your favorite bookstore. Coming up next, we've got Susie Beasley. She'll be talking with Ruby Soutier about a book I'm sure you'll all enjoy.
Ruby, tell us a little bit about The Girl's Guide to Elvis by Kim Alderman.
This is a trivia book about Elvis Presley. It has lots of fun and entertaining facts about Elvis. The author is a woman, and it's written by a woman for women, and like I said, it's all kinds of trivia about Elvis Presley.
Now, just off the cuff now, when was Elvis's first live appearance?
Elvis's first live appearance, as you learn in this book, was in July of 1954. And he started out as the opening act for better-known performers. But in 1955, he almost started a riot in Florida when he came on as the opening act. He sang his song. He said, "Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And girls, I'll see you all backstage." And approximately half of the audience jumped up and ran to the backstage stairs. The other acts soon learned that they did not want to follow Elvis Presley on the stage.
So he didn't get too many other lead acts.
No.
Okay, now in 1956, as Elvis began to come, make it big, where did he live?
He lived on Audubon Drive in Memphis, Tennessee, in a 3-bedroom house that he bought for his parents and himself with some of his first earnings. And this was a big deal to him because before this they had moved around a lot because his father frequently was unemployed and had to move to another place to find a job.
Right. So now, but you said Audubon Drive, and I thought he lived at Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee.
Well, this is what happened. He bought this first house on Audubon Drive, which was evidently a housing division, a new housing division in the 1950s. And as he was living there, fans started hanging around, tromping on the neighbors' yards and being there. In fact, there's an urban legend that says that his neighbors offered to buy him out. But whether that's true or not, nobody really knows anymore. But
just like those other urban legends.
Right. But in 1957, he's paid $100,000 and bought Graceland. He added the wrought iron fence and the famous music note gates, and thus there was security.
Right. So all these questions that I have asked are all part of The Girl's Guide to Elvis by Kim Alderman. And this is a fairly new book, and it's available at your local library and perhaps your local bookstore. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Ruby.
Yo, see that girl? She sets the curve in my math class. Always has her homework right. Me? I hate homework, but I gotta do it, you know? But I found out her secret. She logs on to the Metro Library website and then clicks on their homework center. I couldn't believe what they have there. Help for math, science, English, and lots of other stuff too, like encyclopedias, newspapers, magazines, even science experiments. Metro Library's Homework Center website is one-stop shopping. You can even find the phone number of the nearest library so you can renew your library books. Check it out. It's like having the resources of an entire bookstore right in your computer. And since it's from Metro Library, you know the information will be dependable and up to the minute. But hey, I gotta go and log on and get to work. From now on, I'm setting the curve.
Well, Doug, I'm afraid I've got another science fiction book for you.
You like science fiction,
Yes,
don't you?
I like science. Well, I like
Good for
some
you.
science fiction.
Oh.
I'm kind of picky about it. One of my favorites is a native Oklahoman by the name of Carolyn Sherry. Her pen name is C.J. Sherry. And she has just had out a new book called Explorer, which is a trilogy, a second trilogy set in this particular universe. And I've got to say, it's really great. It focuses on a group of humans. We first decide that a ship has been lost. They can't find their way back home. Been sent out to explore. They put a space station around a planet and then discover that the planet has intelligent life on it. Problems, because due to the let's say the psychological makeup of the captains of the ship, they don't want any kind of outside influence on the people that they are leading with a very firm hand. But the humans on the space station actually escape down to the planet. And at first, everything seems to be going fine. They're getting along with the other beings, the Atevi, who look a little human. I mean, they're this same general idea, except that there's so much misunderstanding between them as to just exactly what words like war and peace and friend mean.
Sounds very human to me.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. But so they start a war. They end up not killing each other, but they have restricted relations between the two to just a couple of people, interpreters. That they're charged with interpreting the humans to the Atevi and the Atevi to the humans. Then the ship comes back. More problems. And so they get that resolved, and then the ship says, "Oh, by the way, you know that space station that we told you that we left out in that, you know, 1,000,000 light years away, and that there wasn't anybody left alive on it? Well, we lied. There are some people there, and they would like to be rescued." And they were attacked by really bad guys. And so this is the situation that our humans and Atevi are left with. They have to find the means to refuel the ship and somehow get to where that space station is and rescue the other humans, because as far as they know, they're the only humans in the universe. They can't go back to Earth. They don't know what's going on there. It's been several hundred years. So if humans are going to survive, they've got to resolve that problem and do something about the bad guys. And that's what Explorer's about. If you haven't read the whole series, you can pick it up. There's a nice prologue. I would highly recommend it. And we're out of time.
All right.
Okay. Coming up next, we have Kids Corner. Kelly Ria will be talking with Shelley Ziegler-Hill about a book for our young adults.
We have a great young adult book today. It's called Dreamland. It's by Dessen. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Shelley, you brought it. Tell me about it.
It is a young adult book, so it is kind of a deeper theme than, you know, a juvenile fiction book. It's called Dreamland, but that's kind of a satire of sorts of Dreamland. It's about a young girl. I think she's about 13 or 14, and it's about how a person can get into a situation that they don't anticipate. Caitlin is the main character, and she starts dating this boy who's just fabulous, you know, and in high school you think, oh, he's just everything, it's wonderful. And he starts abusing her physically.
Oh, no.
Yes. And it's so interesting because a lot of us, you know, we can't understand how women or men can stay in a situation like that. But when you see how it unfolds, you can kind of understand her position. She has a lot of family trouble. Her sister has ran off and left the family, and her parents aren't communicating very well. And
so she's looking for someone that she can lean on and have a grown-up relationship at that age. And maybe this person isn't all that healthy for her.
And she doesn't realize this because this is the only person she feels that she can depend on. And I think this is a very therapeutic book because I think a lot of teens can find themselves in this situation and not know where to turn or think they're the only one. And so this book would be wonderful to read to see how you got yourself in that situation and how you should get yourself out of unhealthy.
How this character dealt with it to move out of that.
Exactly.
Wow.
And she does get out of the situation.
I'm so glad to hear that.
But it does take a long time, and I think it's good for girls in high school to read because it just the whole setting is in a high school setting and her friends, and she starts alienating herself from her friends, and she starts using drugs and because of the boyfriend. And
she has a lot of issues going on that kids are dealing with right now.
Exactly, and I think a lot of teens think they're the only one. And they think, you know, how do I get out of this? You know, so this is I thought was wonderful. It is a dark theme. It is.
But if you have thoughtful teens who are involved in a lot of different activities that, you know, may be seeing some of this in their peer group, this would be a good book for them to read.
Oh, exactly. And I think because in Caitlin's situation, no one else sees the signs of what's happening to her.
It's called Dreamland, and it's by Dessen, and you should find it at your local bookstore or at your favorite library.
Thanks, Kelly and Shelley. It's time now for the New York Times bestseller list. We'll start out with hardback fiction. Number 10 is Esther's Gift by Jan Karan, Quentin's by Maeve Binchy, Reversible Errors by Scott Turow, Answered Prayers by Danielle Steele, Visions of Sugar Plums by Janet Ivanovich, Chesapeake Blue by Nora Roberts, The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold, The Christmas Train by David Baldacci, John Grisham's Skipping Christmas is number 2, and Four Blind Mice by James Patterson is number 1. On the nonfiction list, number 10 is Live from New York by Tom Shales, The Conquerors by Michael Beschloss, My Losing Season by Pat Conroy, Sandy Koufax by Jane Levy, Who Says Elephants Can't Dance by Louis Gerstner, A Long Way from Home by Tom Brokaw, Journals by Kurt Cobain, Leadership by Rudy Giuliani with Ken Kurson, Bush at War by Bob Woodward is number 2, and Patricia Cornwell's Portrait of a Killer is number 1. On the children's list, number 10, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling, Summerland by Michael Chabon, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by Rowling, Christmas in Camelot by Mary Pope Osborne, The Wide Window by Lemony Snicket, The Reptile Room, also by Lemony Snicket, The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funke, The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket, Junie B. First Grader Toothless Wonder by Barbara Park is number 2, and Lemony Snicket's The Carnivorous Carnival is number 1. Well, once again, I'm back with Doug Benton, and this time I'm forced, really, to let Doug talk. So, okay, Doug, go ahead.
No, I don't have a thing to say. You got 3 minutes. Fill it up.
Uh-oh.
No. All right. No. I find as I'm aging, I am aging. You probably hadn't noticed that, but I am.
No, I hadn't.
I go back and I reread a lot of stuff I read when I was very young. And every 2 or 3 years, the world joins me in one of these things. And that's when a new James Bond movie comes out. And as we're taping this, Die Another Day is in theaters, and it's actually giving Harry Potter a run for his money at the box office. Yeah, it's fun. So I thought I would talk a little bit about James Bond today.
Oh, good.
I think a lot of people think the original Bond series, is written by Ian Fleming, were, our Cold War products, and they really don't have anything to say to the modern world. And I want to correct that because I still read the Fleming books, reread. And yes, the enemy is generally communism in some kind of vague form, but Bond was never really concerned with politics. He was going after individuals, and his conflicts were made personal by something or other that would happen. Yes, the villain in the early books, they were communists. Mr. Big and Live and Let Die. I love that name. But Bond really wasn't after them because of their politics. He was sent after them by his bosses, who maybe were concerned with the political aspect of it, world politics, but Bond wasn't particularly interested in that.
He was too busy shaking, not stirring his martini.
Well, now that's more movie stuff than it is book stuff.
I know.
For a long time in the early years when Fleming was still alive, and he didn't really live to see the big Bond explosion. He died in '64 when Goldfinger came out. So he really wasn't around for the Bond's conquest of the whole world. But there was this thing: you couldn't like the books and like the movies. You just weren't allowed to. You had to pick one or the other. Well, we're far enough away from the golden age of Sean Connery and Ian Fleming so that you can like them both. But just be aware, if you're only familiar with Bond from the films, when you go back to read the books, they're going to be a lot different. They're grittier. They're a little bit more hard-boiled than the movies ever were. As the Connery films, the early ones, are closer in tone to the books, certainly than the Roger Moore series. They were really far out by the time he got to Moore, when the character was sort of rewritten in some ways to fit Moore's established screen persona, which was more of a light comedian than it was, a gritty secret agent. Connery had said that his approach to any material was to look for the serious side first and find the humor in it. And that Moore's, and they were very good friends apparently, Moore's was to play it for comedy first and find the serious undertones and work at that. So you had the two different things with them. But I know the library still has several of the Ian Fleming books. I brought this one along. This is my copy of From Russia with Love. I'll take a look at that. No, the library owns the book, but doesn't own this particular edition. And I bring this because it is a duplicate of the first edition, the first English edition. So I just thought it was kind of interesting to show the cover. Fleming did not execute the covers, but he designed them. They were his ideas. So these early books are kind of interesting for that. But as I say, and the library owned several of the films on video format, not only the Connery films, but the later Roger Moore series as well.
So you can sit comfortably and read and watch over the Christmas holidays.
Exactly. Immerse yourselves.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Coming up next, we have M.J. Van Deventer, Director of Publications at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. She'll be talking with B. Byron Price, who is Executive Director of the Charles M. Russell Research Center at the University of Oklahoma. And that's a very long-winded of saying those two are going to talk about a book I think you'll find very interesting.
Byron, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Nice to have you here. Tell us what you're reading.
Well, I'm reading Jolie Blonde's Bounce, which is James Lee Burke's new crime mystery novel. I read a lot in my professional career in nonfiction, and I have a couple of fiction authors, Burke and Elmer Kelton, in the Western genre that I read more or less religiously.
Well, what's the book about?
Well, the book is set, as all of this particular series are set, in and around New Iberia, Louisiana, in the Cajun southwestern Louisiana country. The main character is a police, actually a county sheriff's deputy named Dave Robichaud. He's been fired off the New Orleans police force and is caught on in New Iberia. James Lee Burke is a master at characterization, and he creates a very rich tapestry of people who inhabit his novels, as is the case in the actual
Well, tell us something
country.
about the main character.
Well, Dave Robichaud is a very complex character. He has demons that are traceable to his childhood, to his alcoholism primarily. And indeed, Burke, James Lee Burke, the author, has had his own bout with alcoholism and writes very intensely about this. And you realize throughout the entire series that one never gets over this particular disease, and he's always plagued by it in some way, sometimes more so than others.
Is there a spiritual undergirding to the book as well?
I think that's interlocked with the alcoholism, and some of the best characters in these novels have to do with the spiritual end of things. The chief antagonist in this book is a really evil character named Legion Guidry, and Legion it will give you all you need to know about this person. Really a terrific, I love the way he writes, and he's able to convey deep emotions, and he's a cut or two above most crime fiction writers.
It sounds like the New Iberia setting is perfect for this book.
It really is, and he grew up in that country, and Jolie Blonde, of course, is the old Cajun song, and one of the people who is accused of one of the murders in this book is a blues singer, and he has created this a blues version of Jolie Blonde, which he called Jolie Blonde's Bounce.
Sounds really fascinating. Thank you for sharing with us today.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
I know it is wet, and the sun is not sunny.
Hi, my name is Jose Jimenez of your Metropolitan Library Commission. You know, most experts tell us that if you just spend 20 minutes a day reading to your child, you're not only building a bond that lasts a lifetime, but you're also preparing that child to learn how to read. Check with the experts at your Metropolitan Library for suggestions on just the right books for you and your family. And visit us at our website at www.metrolibrary.org.
Be sure and check us out on the web at www.metrolibrary.org. You can find out all about the programs that are available throughout the system. You can find out about all the materials that you can check out, books, CDs, VHS tapes, and more. And we're very glad that you're with us today, and we hope you'll join us again next time.